in Egypt, we have a long-standing program as the World Food Program. It's actually very similar in concept and work. It's an integrated model, which is a whole community approach. So it's not just working with small farmers, but looking at that whole community, and farmers being an integral member of that community. It is based at the household level, but in a collective approach. So while we don't have cooperatives, we are looking of generating this collective nature in Egypt. The problem in Egypt, and His Excellency is correct me, who's online, can correct me, but the huge problem in Egypt is land fragmentation. The land is exceptionally highly fragmented, and how do we get a consolidated land use that will enable the economies of scale that are needed in agriculture to ensure adequate levels of income and household food security. So we are looking at it in a way that is enabling. So we're looking to build models that are replicable, that are scalable, be it by the government or the private sector as we move forward, because this is a holistic approach. And most importantly, it has to be sustainable. And where sustainability comes into effect is that the people themselves must own the process. They must feel this is theirs and they want to carry on doing it. So these are the pillars on which it is standing. And now I'm really excited because with the nexus that Her Excellency, the Minister, mentioned about energy, water, and food, our program began looking at these different elements as inputs into our program. So in order to address the food part, we look to land use consolidation. So bringing people together at a common objective to finding the right crop for production, finding the right markets for that crop, and for looking at the entire value chain. So it's not just a one-off, one-person approach. We are working in Egypt at the community level with CDAs, which are Community Development Association, and this requires a total enhancing and strengthening of the Community Development Associations, which also are the legal representatives of the communities. Similarly, we're addressing the issue of water. Water is extremely scarce in Egypt. 85% of water use is with the farmer and agricultural society. And in order to address the water, we're looking through the management of that water in an appropriate way. We all know that flood irrigation is no longer a viable and feasible approach. So looking at smart irrigation, looking at bringing technology that will be adaptive and be in the hands of the people that need to manage it. We can't bring in something that then can't be managed at that household level and by the people themselves. So we're looking at canalization and at drip drop. And if that's the right way, we are working through it's not a one size fits all. It's as the communities come into place, they will adopt the right one and with the appropriate level of training that is required and the capacity strengthening, but it's at the ground level. The next element is energy. If you're going to go for smart technologies, you need to have the energy. And in that, we are looking at different sources of energy, and that is also climate friendly. So in Egypt, we are blessed in one way that we do have one energy source, which is the sun. And so therefore solar energy, and in fact, Egypt is going very, very strong in this regard, and it has that huge solar farm in Aswan. So this is an area that needs to be put in the hands of the people at the ground level. I very much like, and we believe in what Mr. Kola said, that agriculture needs to be even at the household level. It needs to be a business. It can't be managed individually. It cannot be looked at in a thing. So we are looking at the entire supply chain and looking at the issue of storage. So people are planting and getting the results of the harvest, and that is not being lost. So we've built a model which is looking at 30, 40 fedans at a time, and we can go larger, but that requires more time. That gives you critical mass that will enable capital investment as a group. So you don't have just one little bit going here and one little bit going there, one farmer doing this and one farmer doing that, but it's a collective approach decided upon by the participants themselves. So it is looking at that, and that enables us to build the economies of scale that enable the use of appropriate amounts of fertilizers, the biodiversity that's required. It's looking at waste management and creating entrepreneurships, because in agriculture, the younger generation, you will see that those are the ones which are most likely to migrate away from agriculture. Do they see agriculture as a source for them to be engaged in? So through our greening effect and management of waste and management of creating other markets, the use of agricultural waste as a business source is also being included and incorporated into it. What I think we will need to work on, and we don't have yet done, and we're starting the thinking processes in terms of how to address toxicity of soils, the salinity of soils, as climate becomes more and more the effects of droughts and flash floods. If the land is too dry, then even if it rains or you have water, you will not get it being absorbed into the land. It'll run off. And as it runs off, you will have other problems that are associated with that. We're looking at building digitalization and innovation into the process. So we've looked at early warning systems that will enable the farmers on their handheld to be able to see when is the best time to plant, what are the temperatures which are coming, when are the adjustments needed. So we have, and it's working, a process looking at early warning systems that will enable it. We are at the same time looking at the business model and making sure that it is a viable source of income. Is how do we make people less risk averse? This, unfortunately, once again, will not happen with the older population, but with the youth. And in Egypt is blessed with a very vibrant youth population, is how to engage them. And we are looking at the financial institutions and financial literacy, which will enable and finding products that will be accessible and not be seen as a danger, and looking at how do we build guarantees for collateral, how do we make products that enable not only the production but also the value chain as an accessible means to agriculture. These are some of the things. We're looking at it through incubators. We will, as I mentioned to you a little while back in our meeting, we're going to hold a food security symposium where we're going to bring all the ag techs, fintechs with solutions that they are managing now, not something in the future, now. And how do we replicate this? How do we scale this up? And how do we put it and make it sustainable in the hands of the people? So we're hoping to bring real practices online. And this will be at the end of September. We will have a 2-day symposium on this that will bring to Egypt, and we're bringing experience from the outside as well as from within Egypt. And of course, from Africa, we're also bringing in people to do that. The one part which I really applaud, I think, and there's lots that we can learn from Masha's thing, was the diversified income. And I think this is an area that we really need to start thinking about. I'm not too sure that we are at a stage or close to a stage where our farmers, the ones we are working with, will have sufficient income to send children abroad for education. But we do believe that is the next frontier, is how do we build innovation and digitalization and put it really in the hands so that you can start to see the opportunities and the potential. And it's not just agriculture, but how agriculture is linked intrinsically to all the other services that are around. It is important education. We're working with digital schools in this model so that we are trying to capture the children in the communities themselves through education. And not all of them, unfortunately, will go on to higher education, but even when they remain at the level that they decide to stop at, and hopefully it won't be too early, they will have a means and a ways to have still access to information in doing it. Our biggest goal is to make the unbankable bankable. How to make the shift from the informal economy where they are currently encased into a formal economy, and therefore have access to many more tools and many more products that will be out there. For that purpose, as a last point, I'd like to say, we do have an accelerator. The World Food Program has an accelerator, which is based in Munich, which is already brought success to more than 9 million people in 67 countries. We have another incubator, another one in Kenya, actually in Nairobi, and it is managed out of there. So we're hoping to bring all of these sources to us. So let me stop there. But the key for us here in Egypt has been the land use consolidation, bringing the concept that how do we bring these small parcels of land into a collective means. And there is a huge amount of land still in Egypt that can be productive and can be effective in addressing these, at the same time bringing people out of poverty, making populations more food secure as we move forward.